Do you think that great leaders have to be loud, bold, and outgoing? Think again. In this video, I'll share 3 reasons why introverts don't just make great leaders. We outperform extroverts when it matters most. When you picture a leader, what comes to mind? Probably somebody charismatic, commanding, maybe even the loudest voice in the room. That's the extrovert ideal that we've been sold to for decades. And that's the ideal that movies have been selling us since I can remember. But here's the twist. Some of the world's most powerful leaders like Abraham Lincoln, Rosa Parks, Bill Gates, and Mahatma Gandhi, were quiet, reflective introverts. One study found that 65% of executives see introversion as a leadership flaw, and that's just laughable. While extroverts often dominate the spotlight, research shows that introverts bring something different, and in key situations, something better. Let's dive in. So, what is introversion really? Based on Oxford's dictionary, introversion is the tendency to be concerned with one's own thoughts and feelings rather than with external things. What that means is that extroverts and introverts get their energy from different sources, while extroverts get their energy from being around people, being in the middle of the action, being the center of attention. We, as introverts, get our energy from quiet and solitude. We'd much rather be having a deep conversation with one person than with just dozens of people. And to be honest, I'd much rather be tucked in my bed or on the couch, reading a book, watching a movie, or just watching a show than actually having to talk with and be around 10 plus people. The sad part about this is that for decades, this has been seen as a weakness. Susan Cain calls this the extrovert ideal, our society's built-in preference for the person who's gregarious and comfortable in the spotlight, whereas the quiet, thoughtful nature of an introvert just doesn't get seen. So this bias towards extroverts means that extroverts are going to get promoted more often because they're going to want to be in the spotlight. They're going to be showing their accomplishments far and wide. Whereas we introverts, we're happy with our accomplishments, but we're going to keep it to ourselves because this is what fuels us. This is what we like. We're okay with being insightful, thoughtful, and having our accomplishments just talk for itself. The first superpower that we as introverted leaders possess is that we actually listen. Not just listen to form a response to the other person. We actually want to hear the person. And we're okay with that person talking and being the center of attention. Whereas extroverted leaders sometimes get just swept by their own energy, by their own thoughts. They want to be heard and they want to be the loudest person in the room and get their points across. We as introverted leaders are actually completely comfortable of sitting back, giving the spotlight to somebody else. So research done by Wharton professor Adam Grant found that introverted leaders are far more likely to listen to suggestions and support employees who take initiative. When a person feels listened to, when a person feels heard, they're going to be trusting us a lot more. We're going to be creating that psychological safety that they need to bring out the best versions of themselves. And we as introverted leaders are best positions to actually do that. One landmark Harvard study actually supports this when they found that when employees on a team were proactive, the teams led by an introvert were an incredible 28% more productive than those led by an extrovert. And the reasoning behind this was that an introvert will always push the spotlight onto their team. When people feel like their ideas are being taken seriously, they get more engaged, they get more creative, and they're more willing to step up. By simply listening, the introverted leader unlocks the entire team's full potential. This deep listening leads us straight to the introvert's superpower number 2, empowering our teams. Because we aren't driven by a big ego or just us wanting to put a stamp of approval on everything our team does, we make room for other people to shine. In the majority of cases, we won't just hand out tasks, we're actually going to hand out real ownership and trust our teams to get it done. So when I delegate the tasks to my people, I'm entrusting them, I'm empowering them that they're going to be able to figure it out on their own, that they're going to be accomplishing that task on their own. I'm just going to be there supervising, mentoring, coaching, and helping them if they have any questions, issues, or problems that we need to solve together. In one business simulation study, introverted managers brought in 14% higher weekly profits when their employees were encouraged to actively contribute ideas. The introverted leaders weren't trying to control the conversation, they were guiding it. We're the facilitators, and we make sure that everybody gets their fair share of time being heard. When we allow our team members to be heard, and we do allow every single one of our team members to be heard, even the most shy person, the most introverted person, we will enable them, encourage them, and empower them. Our third superpower comes from our inner world. We as introverts are natural thinkers. Our tendency to go inward, and this gives us a huge capacity for self-awareness, deep focus, and planning. We will tend to always think before we speak. We're not just going to speak because we need to speak, but we're going to speak because we want to speak and we have something good, something relevant to actually share. So while an extrovert is usually wired to seek external rewards, external praise, and just charge ahead, we as introverts are more likely to pause, reflect, and look at the problem from every single angle that we can. We're going to be inviting different perspectives. We're going to be asking others for their opinions, for their thoughts, so that we can get the most holistic picture of any decision that we have to make. And then we're going to make that decision. So we as introverted leaders can be the calm voice of reason, making thoughtful decisions based on data, based on our intuition, not just based on our emotion and the first thing that comes to our mind. This doesn't mean that we're indecisive, but it means that we're a lot more strategic. When Lincoln was angry at McClellan, he wrote him a really scathing letter. But what he would actually do is, when he wrote that letter, he would just put it in the drawer, left it there. And then later on, he would actually burn it. So what Lincoln knew is when emotions are ripe, when you're really angry, you want to do things impulsively, do things right away. And it's best to actually let out that anger, those emotions, and just let them be there. We as introverts are naturally reflective, and that's a hotbed for creativity. Solitude and being alone is actually often where breakout ideas form. So when I have a consequential or difficult decision to make, I love to go on walks alone. So what's usually going to happen is when I'm on a walk, I'm going to have a lot more ideas, a lot more creative ideas on how we can solve that issue, how we can solve that situation or crisis. So the difference between us as introverts versus the extroverts is that extroverts want to just talk their way out of an issue, out of a problem. Whereas we as introverts like to go and have solitude, like to go and go in ourselves. And that can actually create friction a lot of times. So when I was a chief of staff for a career coaching company, my CEO was the biggest extrovert that you can think. And I'm an introvert. So when we had a crisis, when we had something that we had to solve, he just wanted to go on a meeting and just talk through it all the time without even pausing and just reflecting. Whereas I needed some alone time. And he was shocked when at times I told him, hey, I need to think about this. Give me an hour or two so I can go on a walk and actually think about this. To him, that was incomprehensible because he didn't understand that this is the way I work best. This is the way that I can rearrange my thoughts best and I can get the most creative solutions to the problem. For far too long, we've only heard one side of the story, that the best leaders are extroverted leaders, that we as introverts need to just fake it till we make it. And we've also believed that our quiet side may be the killer of our careers and that we had to adapt. The evidence and research shows us something completely different, that our ability to listen isn't a weakness. It's a strategic advantage. And our desire to always empower others and our team is what actually builds strong and innovative teams, builds trust and psychological safety. And those are the building blocks of every great and successful team. Our reflective nature is a source of wisdom and creativity. So if you're an introvert, take advantage of your superpowers and make them work for you, for your team, for your organization. Don't think that these characteristics is something that you need to fix. The world doesn't need just one type of leader. It needs thoughtful, empathetic, and empowering leaders just as much as it needs bold and charismatic ones. Our quietness is not a liability. It's our strength. Embrace it. The world is finally waking up and starting to listen to us as well. Now go and watch some of my videos.